Hello and welcome to episode 110 of the Arena Regulars podcast. I'm Zach,
And I'm Jeff.
and we're a source for drunken Magic the Gathering arena content.
That's right. We're just a couple of regular dudes drinking some irregular beers and talking about Magic the Gathering, in particular, the online client, MTG Arena.
That's right, and this episode is actually not about March of the Machine, which is coming out soon. We're actually going to look back on the last set we just had, Phyrexia All Will Be One, and have our happy hour, which is kind of us going through talking about some of our favorite things from the set. But first, each week we both bring a beer, we drink Jeff's, then drink mine, rate them on a scale of bronze to mythic, and choose the best for last. So with that, Jeff, what's on tap?
All right. So I brought a funky looking beer from Ottawa. I'm from Ottawa. I recently visited there. Brought some back with me. I believe. Now, here's where things get interesting.
Mhm.
I bought this beer for three reasons. One, it's a New England style IPA, and I like those.
Yes.
Two, I like these funky can designs with a lot going on. I often lament on the show that Nickelbrook used to have designs like this, and they no longer do.
Mhm.
And I've literally have purchased a lot less Nickelbrook since they did that. Um, and three, it's very hard to tell what the name of this beer is and what the brewery's is. So let me pitch my theory to you.
Okay.
If you look here, there's a white strip. I
Yes.
believe the beer is called Dazed in a Haze. Okay.
Okay.
It says it's from BRU, Brewing Company. So
Hmm.
Dazed in a Haze by Brewing Company. But then they have this like AR Brew at the top, which I
Hmm.
guess is the company. I think they have something called Soundcraft, which also says there, where they
Hmm.
feature local artists like so I think it
Oh.
says Shutterfly Window or Butterfly Window and Terrence and the High Flyers. I think Butterfly Window is the album name. Terrence and the High Flyers is the artist, the band. Uh, and they're like featuring their art. I mean, you see here it says scan to play.
Oh.
So I think this is like them supporting local artists or local musicians, which was the reason that I bought it as well. That was reason number three.
That is so cool. Yeah, I had absolutely no idea. I saw that and was like, oh, there's something with it. I'm not sure. And immediately
Right.
just thought that the name of the beer was Butterfly Window as I was writing
It
it
definitely
down.
looks like that. Yeah.
It really does. But no, this is all the beer information. That's awesome. That's so cool. So have you not played the song yet?
No, I haven't.
Okay. We won't do that for you right now, but maybe you'll see that on our Instagram or something.
The
Um,
genre is retrock, ret rock. Oh,
like
it's got to be ret rock, like retro rock.
yeah, like retro rock. Yeah, I'm sure that's what it is. Because that's what it looks
Okay.
like too. So it has
Yeah,
that kind of psychedelic thing. Well, sweet. Awesome.
60s.
Love it.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
I'm excited for this one. I love the all of the beer information is like tiny,
Hmm.
and like the artist really is like the whole thing
Really
for
centered.
the album covered. Yeah,
Yeah, that's nice. It's similar to like Collective Arts, except for band.
right. With
Awesome.
music.
Let's crack this open. Oh,
Um, yeah, for stats, it's 6% New England style IPA.
nice, nice. Excited for this. Here, I'm just going to scroll over to my notes because we have some magic news. The best of three play-in event and the qualifier weekend is happening this weekend, April 7th through the 9th, and the format is Explorer. And then,
Nice.
Jeff, we have some new alchemy rebalances that are coming out
Oh,
April 4th.
nice.
Yeah, pretty nice. Except for they did not nerf Fable of the Mirror Breaker or
Hmm.
Invoke Despair. So it doesn't really matter. It's
What about that like red black ridiculous three drop that draws you a ton of cards?
no, these are only rebalances of actually no,
Ah, of
they
course, of course.
so they do have some rebalances that are like arena only cards, but none of them are nerfs. They're all buffs to
Classic.
primarily ninjas. So which you
Okay,
know
I kind of like that.
I do like. Obviously ninjas is a deck that I like and wanted to work, and there were some aggressive takes on it, mainly just changing um how easy it is to ninjutsu things or just making all the cards stronger. But Still not what I wanted to see. It's not going to make me want to play alchemy. So
It's not
sorry.
enough. It is tempting, I'll admit.
Yeah,
I think I
but
have a ninja's alchemy deck like sitting or floating around somewhere.
yeah. So anyway, that's a bummer, but maybe they'll get the rebalances right next time. At least what we expect them to do, which is nerf the really good cards. Anyway, and all right, March of the Machine is almost fully spoiled and will be released on April 18th on Arena. Though check out next episode or next week's episode, sorry, for the second half of our Drunken Vorthos. So we just thought we'd take a little break, do our happy hour, and then do the Drunken Vorthos before the set comes out.
I'm pumped for that. Though some
Yes.
of the spoiled cards have spoiled some stuff for me that I wish I hadn't seen.
Yeah, we didn't read all the stories are out right now. We haven't read all of them, and we will read them getting ready for next episode. So you might know more than we do right now. So whatever, that's fine. It's fine. I like to.
Yeah,
It's nice for us, and most of it, all the spoilers are kind of expected. So I was like, yeah, okay.
that's fair. Yeah.
Mhm. But anyway, Jeff, let's stop talking about March of the Machine and let's start talking about Phyrexia. All will be one.
Or I guess
Um,
sort of also stop talking about Phyrexia. All will be one, but just
yeah,
officially.
yeah. Yeah. So what do we think of the set? Um, was it like so far in the year? Let's say. I mean, obviously it's the first set of the year, but I mean like basically since rotation. How do we feel as in the context of the set?
Okay, so there's one thing we got to get out there now.
Mm-hmm.
March of the Machine is my last chance for a broken artifact set because I said that one of these artifact sets was going to be broken. Definitely not Phyrexia. Um, Brothers
Wasn't
War was not broken.
nope.
So really looking at you, March of the Machine. I'm looking at you. But it
I
seems I
don't.
may have been wrong.
I think you were wrong. I think Watsy learned. They've had it's happened. Was I don't know if the Scars of Mirrodin block was broken, but the other three times they did artifact sets, they were busted in half. Urza's
I
block,
think there was some
Mirrodin block.
stuff from like Mirrored Scars of Mirrodin that was there's
Oh
like a few cards
no,
that
no, they
was
did they did break it in half because that's when they did Phyrexian mana. So
yeah, of
it
course.
wasn't
Yeah, that was a huge mistake.
artifact specifically, but it was Phyrexia breaking shit.
It was still
Um,
in an artifact set, so it
yes,
counts.
yeah, and then Kaladesh, of course, also broke some shit, which also a lot of that was the energy. So anyway,
Mhm.
but I think we're pretty safe. Like,
Yeah, we might be in the clear on that one. So
yeah,
well done,
so
Wizards.
you
You
learned the
just got to make
lesson
the artifacts expensive and bad, and then yeah,
and colored, and you
yeah,
can't circumvent the colors. So,
right.
I do think that was great. This set delivered on the things that I really wanted, which was primarily toxic and poison, which I'm going to be
Mhm.
talking about the whole episode, like I have been every
Classic. I mean,
episode.
I was gonna say, like you've been talking about it since it was spoiled, so
Hmm.
it's just on the toxic train.
Yeah.
No, I think that's fair though. Like this delivered Phyrexia.
Hmm.
They had to do poison in some way, and they got it right this time. I think
Yeah.
toxic is the right way to do it. Like they kind of knew that from the floater they had in Future Sight or whatever.
Hmm.
It had poisonous or something. This is
Yeah.
essentially the same, but with more modern rules text. Like it doesn't go on the stack.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, this is This is the right way to do it. Um, I thought this set was great, honestly. Like the limited format was fun for
Yeah.
me. The cards delivered like on the theme of the set. I definitely got like big bad Phyrexia, like made Phyrexians a lot scarier than they
Yeah.
maybe have been in the past. And like nothing was too broken, but it offered some fun stuff for constructed as well. I
Hmm.
think it's just really well executed.
Yeah. I think that like being able to have a standard deck that was like almost entirely from this set, but it's not the best deck by any means.
Mhm.
Um,
But like it still floats in and out of tier one.
yeah, it comes like it makes top eight. It wins tournaments, but like
Yeah,
you know, it's
right. It's
around there.
wins tournaments. So
Like
um,
that is awesome. and it's
And you
exactly
can't stop winning it with it. So
yeah. Though, so on my Discord or on the Discord channel, I've been posting a lot of like 5-0 runs with Celestia Poison. But I honestly think, this isn't about our topic, but have you been playing in the events? I feel like they're a little soft.
oh yeah, I've been mostly drafting when I log on. I still
Yeah,
haven't lost the bug, so to
yeah.
speak.
Well, I mean, I usually draft, and then when I finish the draft, I go and I play
Hmm.
um, in standard, and which once I drafted 7-0, and then I went 5-0. So
Ooh,
you
that's a
know,
good night. Did
it
you keep
was
playing or and
no,
ruin
no,
it?
no. I stopped.
Just
I
oh three,
stopped.
oh three, oh
It
three.
got
Damn it.
yeah, but yeah, I think that I don't know what's up with the matchmaking with some of those events, but it seems like I I I think that your tier might matter more than I thought
Right.
because
Or maybe
everyone.
it's like, do you remember in the old, I think this is still the case. If you just click play, it
Mhm.
like assesses the quality of your deck.
Yeah,
It's like looking at your deck. It's like it's all from the same set.
like
Like
there's no
there's a bunch of
rares.
comments
Yeah,
in
yeah.
here. Like this guy's playing stand. We'll put him
Hmm.
against someone of a
Because
similar capacity.
there's a few times where I'm like legit playing against people that like it's just cards I own deck, like draft chef
Right.
dot deck, and I'm like maybe the first win of every round is like, yep, that's sorry, bud, you shouldn't have joined this thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Um, so I don't know how they do the matchmaking for it, but it was most egregious the last time that it happened because I the reset had just happened, and so I was
Mm.
like bottom bronze, like just at the bottom of the barrel because I just haven't been playing on the ladder. And so if you know how that works exactly, I don't know. Um,
Yeah.
it's
Let us know.
yeah, let us know.
I've always even wondered, like, do I get paired against people of the same record as me? I think like that's
I
not even necessarily always true.
I don't know if it's always true, but I've definitely noticed that as I go, it does get harder. Um,
Yeah. I think it like tries to pair a similar record, but it doesn't want you sitting there forever. So if it's taking a bit of time, it'll just open it up and pair you against anyone.
mhm, yeah,
I
but
know that's how it worked in Magic Online. So you would often get like your 4-0 and then you just match someone who's like 2-2 or something.
yeah, yeah. So anyway, but back to like Phyrexia. You said that you draft every time you get on. I draft all the time. However, I did stop drafting the set
Yeah.
a bit. Um, just because I got a little tired that like blue wasn't as viable, though I think there was a resurgence at a certain point. I don't know if have you ever drafted a blue deck, by the way?
I've never drafted a successful blue deck. No,
Hmm.
I kept being like, oh, blue's always open. I'm eventually going to make the leap and like just learn how to draft blue. I just never did it because I was
Hmm.
finding success with the white, basically the white decks like green, white, and white, red
Yeah.
are the decks I draft the most now. Um, so there was never a reason. And I kept being in these drafts where it's like, yeah, blue's wide open, but you know, it's like fourth pick and it's like a hexblade slash, so I'm just gonna take that. So
Yeah.
I want to take the blue card. I really want to try it, but if you
Yeah.
keep passing me like this, the hex gold slash or whatever,
Hmm.
I'm gonna take it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I did see that Ben S was talking to, or he had been drafting a lot of blue on for a while and on his streams and stuff. And there are a lot of people on Twitter posting deck lists being like, "Oh, Ben S is right. Like you should draft this." And the main card to draft and focus on was Jataxian Raptor, which is the 3-mana 1/4
Yeah,
flyer. And just being
I
like,
came to that conclusion as well. That that's the best blue common.
yeah,
Just from playing against it a
mhm,
lot, it was always like, ugh, when they played that card.
yeah. It's like, God damn it. Now I
For
have
a
to
while, I
like,
was like, the one good blue card. What are the odds? Very high. Anyone who's playing blue has like four of those, but
yeah, yeah, because they're just like a freaking, they
they're
just
so annoying.
they just block everything, or they can trade when they want for no
They can
mana,
kill you pretty fast.
and they
Like,
can kill you pretty fast. So anyway, I think that might be the secret. I just never really got around to testing that out. Because the last time I was playing, that was my main focus was, oh yeah, I'm gonna try to do the Gitaxian Raptor thing, and then of course it wasn't open, and or it wasn't. Gitaxian Raptors weren't open. Blue was open, but that card was not. And so I was like, well, this is annoying.
Yeah, for me, it's like, again, it just never seemed like there was a good reason to do it
Hmm.
because it wasn't like I was losing to the blue decks. If
Yeah,
it was the situation where when blue's wide open and you know how to draft it and you take advantage, like your deck is amazing, then that's the type of reason to jump in. But it felt like your deck is just good. Like it's
yeah,
not, even when all of the stars kind of align and you know what you're doing, you just have a good deck, but you're still just going to get smashed by like red green or something.
yeah.
So it was just like, why don't I just draft red green then? Like,
That's true. I guess because like in Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, you like red wasn't super strong, but like mono red was really good because
yeah,
there was a
but it
bunch
was
of like,
like the payoff was there. If you
yeah,
got the good mono red deck, you were like gonna steamroll everyone.
and you were like lightning fast because all your one drops were so good.
And
And
people are
just
playing like a 6 drop white spell that makes 3 samurais. You're like, don't
exactly.
give a fuck about that.
Yeah. So blue was not like that in this set, which,
Right.
blue isn't like lightning fast. Like it's not supposed to really do that, but that also means it's kind of like artifacty and dirtily and um, not really, not really doing it.
Yeah, and like the only time I lose to blue decks is if they had the like Blue Suns Twilight.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, yeah, okay, that card's
Which
pretty good.
would happen often because people would just pass it because they're like, I don't
It's
want
true.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it showed up a lot more than you'd think because nobody takes it.
Yeah. So, so yeah, though, like at the beginning of the set, we had talked about this right when everything came out. People were saying how horrible they thought the set was, like draft wise. Like on the first day,
Yeah.
they're like, "This is a shit draft format. Fuck this. I hate it." And
Mhm.
I don't know. It seemed like yes, there are consistent decks that are good, but like at the Pro Tour, like it was very varied. And then every other tournament when they were like drafting, yeah, for the most part, it's like the everyone's trying to play the oil deck and then like red white ends up doing well, but like I don't know, that's like every draft format has a good deck or the best decks.
Yeah.
What are you gonna like? I don't know what to tell you. So
Maybe you just hate draft if you hate that. It's like there's
I
always a best deck. People fight over it. They don't get all the way to playables, and then whoever built the Boros deck smashes them.
yeah,
That's draft.
exactly, like that just happens if you like sit too long on like, no, I'm gonna get the cards. Like I opened a sweet oil like green red rare, I'm gonna sit on it and then keep trying to
Mhm.
force it until it doesn't work, and then your draft is ruined and you're like, but I played the best deck. It's like, not really. So
Yeah,
that's just what
you played the
happens.
best card
Yeah,
in a
in
deck
a
that
deck
has
that,
those colors.
yeah. So I think that that is what happens a lot of the time. And the fact that blue can come around and still be interesting enough that, like, I thought it was interesting, um,
Yeah,
and have some of the best drafters be like, no, I think you should play this color is cool. So
yeah,
being able to watch
exactly,
that
and
evolution is like more interesting to me than just at least something did change. So,
totally. And I think one of the main criticisms of that, the day one critique crowd, was that it was just all about speed. And I
mm,
think that's been definitively kind of proven false. I think
mm,
the format evolved to a spot where everyone understands that decks can kill you on turn four, essentially, like maybe not exactly dead, but pretty much dead.
yeah,
Um, and then once everyone understands that, they build their deck appropriately with that
mm-hmm,
in mind. And then what I found is like once that shift in mentality happened, aggro decks are still good, don't get me wrong, but they needed ways to punch through the last bit of damage or the last bit of poison. You didn't just get the free wins anymore.
mm-hmm,
Whereas at the start, day one, first week of the format, you built an aggro deck, you got a lot of free wins because people are playing dirtily blue cards that like the draw three proliferate thing.
yeah.
Uh, that seemed like it would be a really strong blue common in a lot of formats, but in this one, it's not.
And that's so funny
Uh,
because that card to me always looks like trash because I don't want to
no,
spend
no, there are
five,
formats where that card would be amazing.
which and I'm just never gonna do it. Like I don't like 5 mana draw spells that are sorcery speed. Like I don't like it. It's
Yeah.
That card
But it
being
proliferates, it affects the board.
does it though? It doesn't like make a creature. I don't know. It's not like it gives me like a decayed zombie or something. I don't know. In any case, like it just is funny because that specific card to me always looks bad. Um, and then when I
Oh,
see
I
people,
was like, this could be the best blue common if it's a slow format.
yeah,
And then I played like 2 games and I was like, it's probably like unplayable.
yeah. Um, so you will not. I believe that is good in other formats, and I know that has to be true. But in my heart, I just always think that card sucks.
It's
Um,
not your type of card. Yeah, I
it's
have stuff like that too, right? Like for me, it's always awesome combat tricks. If there's a format where like a certain combat trick is amazing, it always takes me the longest to come around to it because I'm always just like combat trick. I don't know. I'll wait to lose to it a few times before I start drafting it.
yeah, yeah. That's like New Capena. They had like all for the family or something. All in the family, family
Mhm.
ties, something like that. I don't know. But the one
I
mana
think it's
like
all in the family though.
yeah, something like that. All for the family. Yeah, because it gave +4/+4, right? If you had enough
Uh
creatures, all
yeah,
for the
yeah, yeah.
family. Anyway, um, but yeah, so
Never
which
got that till now.
I think that's what helped me remember. It was either it did give +4/+4 or it gave like +5/+5, and I always got confused. Um,
Right.
but
Like, this should be 4/4.
unless it, I think was it like it costs 1 mana and then it gives +2/+2 unless you have 3 creatures and then it gives +4/+4. Is that what it is? So it's one, two, three,
Only
four.
one way to find out at this point.
All right. Well, we've been talking about it too long, so I guess we got to look it up. Um,
Yeah. It's called
but
For the Family, not
okay,
All for the Family.
okay,
+2/+2. If you have 4 creatures, it gets
mm,
+4/+4.
okay. So
For
so
the family. Yeah.
so close to being one, two, three, four. Oh well. I think
Yeah.
that was what frustrated me about it. But anyway, it doesn't really matter.
There was no three.
There is no three.
Are there 3 people in the art, maybe?
That's what I was thinking. uh,
That'd just be so confusing too.
yeah. Um, but I did like this draft format. I liked watching pro players play. I think it had a really nice course. Though I am kind of ready. I'm ready to move on. I don't feel any like
Yeah, I like.
I don't feel
Sorry,
too
go ahead.
sad. I think I'm going to be sad when I start to remember. Oh, poison's gone, or toxic's gone.
Yeah.
That's going to make me sad. And there's no new cards to add to the toxic deck that I like so much. That's going to be sad. Um, but I think that's the main thing is that I wish
Only
that
it were a block format,
I
back
know
back in the day, you'd get more toxic cards. Or at
exactly
least you'd get cards that care about poison.
yeah or yeah. So that's my main like sadness with it. It's like oh man, that was
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up too, though, because I don't want to make it sound like this is like I think this is an all-time format or whatever. Like
mm,
it was just really fun, to be honest. And I thought it would wear off sooner than it did, basically.
mm,
Um, it is true that blue is like bad by a noticeable margin. It's not unplayably bad, like we've seen in some formats.
mm,
Um, and like I appreciate, Ben S saying you should be drafting blue, but he's sort of notorious for that whatever the worst color is, because he's so good, it really is beneficial for him to like go into that open color. But it doesn't mean everyone can do it.
yeah.
But
It's just
I think I've
like
only seen like 2 formats where he was like, don't draft this color, it's unplayable. Every
mm,
other format, he's like, this is the worst color, but if you learn that just means it's a tool in your arsenal. If you learn how to draft it, then
yeah,
when a draft is going poorly, you can move into it and like save the draft. And like a lot of his mentality about that. It's like, well, maybe you can move into it and save the draft, but not everyone can do that.
yeah, that's true. It's also that like some of the cards that like you might have like an identical list to him, but also sometimes you're not going to be able to play it as well. Similar to like Shota
Exact for sure.
at the Pro Tour, Shota like main decks Duress, which is a card like you normally just don't want to have, and like that's just the type of things that Japanese players are always playing cards that like I don't know, North American players say think like strictly or sideboard cards, and they'll main deck them all the
Right.
time, and like to great success. They'll always mind
Yeah.
rat at the right time or things like that. Just works out for some reason. So, but
And it's always like, a level where it's like, oh, this deck is strong. What is its weakness? It could lose to, this kind of card, or like, I can actually shore up this deck's weakness with a duress.
mhm.
It's not like they just slap duress in every black deck and
Yeah,
it just
exactly.
works out for them, right? So
Mhm.
there's always that thinking behind it that you don't get to see. Um, but I think for the most part, you're better off just never putting duress in your deck.
Yeah,
Because you're probably, unless you're Shota, like you're probably going to be wrong. But like duress is bad, so you have to have a good reason to main deck it.
yeah. There has to be something going on, or some, I don't know, thing in the draft format where it's like, oh, there's a lot of non-creature spells or significantly less creatures for whatever reason. Um, but that's the kind of thing that like you can watch Shota do that and look at his deck list and be like, oh, well, he's one of the best players ever, so I should be playing Dress. And it's like, no,
Right.
please don't. That shouldn't be your takeaway. It should be like, wow, Shota's so good, he
Exactly.
can make Dress good, or knows when to play it, where I'm not good enough to know when to do that. Um,
Right. In limited. And
yes. And
sometimes in the pro tour too, it's like, all right, I'm at the pro tour, I'm in the second day of drafting or whatever. Like there could be just a bias that pro players tend to play more non-creature spells because they can like take
okay,
advantage of them more.
that's sure.
Like that type of, it's that like small knit we talk about sometimes in constructed, of like if you're at the world championship and there's like 32 players, you're as much like playing the metagame of what the actual players who are there are going to bring, rather than like trying to build a deck that's going to work on ladder or in a tournament with
Mhm.
hundreds of people. It's, you can't just take what they like plant, like paste it into your game and expect it to always work.
Yeah, that's definitely true. As I like to copy and paste deck lists all the time and have no idea how to sideboard. That's exactly I
I
100%
think it was
understand that.
Shota as well, that there was like a pro tour or world championship where they were asking about his deck and he's like you should not play my deck. This is specifically for this event and these players that I'm playing against. Like, don't copy this and play it
Mhm.
online or whatever.
Yeah, which used to happen all the time for like the league weekends and stuff. Like, I think
Oh yeah,
that
I think
was,
that's probably was, yeah.
yeah. And I think that was like the
I was
biggest
thinking.
reason why league weekends were like, because besides the fact
Yeah,
that you're just watching, the same players play all the time, but like the decks aren't necessarily even decks that you want to like you don't want the exact 75 of them because they tend to
right.
be thinking about each other. So that's another thing, I guess. Um but yeah. Do you think were there any like mechanics that you really loved from this set that you want to like keep going with besides Toxic? Obviously, because Toxic is the one that we want to have in every set. That there's so much
I don't know
design
about every
space.
set, but yeah.
I mean,
What? Uh,
it is true that like Toxic, obviously at a certain point would like you'd run out of iterations of giving like a 1 mana 1/1 with Toxic something interesting. Um, so like you quickly run out of space with that. But is there anything that felt like it really worked out, or you'd like to see um, more of, or you're just big fans of?
Yeah, like we said, Toxic was actually great, but as opposed to being evergreen, I think it's more of like a once every 5 years kind of thing.
Hmm.
Corrupted was really nice because it was like I really loved how there was just a different threshold. They created a different threshold out of Toxic. Oh, this deck actually isn't trying to get 10 poison counters on you. It's just trying to get 3.
Hmm.
And so like limited revolved around not taking the third poison. Like that was
Hmm.
such a huge part of playing this limited format. And but it wasn't like, oh, if I get to 3, I just lose. Like they're gonna be
Hmm.
they're just too good. It was just like every card they play now is a little better than it would have been if I hadn't taken that third poison. I thought that worked out really well um, for limited. I think they kind of like there are a few cards that I'm like, oh, this is a little too good if you get corrupted. Um, but I mean that's bound to happen. But
Yeah.
for the most part, they got that almost exactly right, I think.
Yeah, I did think it was interesting because often you'd be in the situation where like they play the tapper on turn one, and then you're just kind of waiting to be like, okay, when is that tapper
I
going to be
love the tapper,
really
by the way.
good?
It seems like everyone else hates it, and I love that card.
No. Yeah, Sinew Dancer was great. Like it was
Yeah.
definitely a card that like I wasn't afraid of on turn one, but as they play like that's if that's turn one and then turn two is like the first striking one, which is like annoying but you can deal with. And then on turn three they do the jumper that gives a toxic creature flying, the raptor
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever.
That card was so good.
Yeah, one of my favorites. Um, yeah, Flensing Raptor. So that
Yeah.
situation where you're like, oh, it's okay, that creature doesn't have toxic, into oh shit, now I'm not gonna be able to block ever,
We're at
becomes yeah,
yeah.
just a really bad scenario. So I did like that situation, and knowing that like, okay, if I let them get corrupted, that means that like some of my big creatures can't stick around with like that the anoint with affliction gets turned on for every
Mhm.
creature I play,
Man, yeah.
so that becomes really scary. It was really cool, and I think that was part of the reason, like one of the blue cards that I liked a lot was the counter spell, like the mana leak
Hmm.
type card, bring the ending. And I could never get that card to actually be turned on whenever I was trying to do those decks,
Yeah.
because a lot of it was like proliferating once you get one poison counter, and that just didn't always
Yeah, you're
work
playing
out.
like prologue to Phyresis or whatever, and
Yeah,
then trying to proliferate it. It's just too
all the way
slow.
up. Yeah, for the counter spell that like needs to be, you have to have open
Right.
too. So it's like this weird,
Um,
just
I
didn't.
tried so hard. Like the first few decks I drafted were that.
Hmm.
It was like that, the divination that's one mana if you get
Hmm.
them. I loved that card. I thought that was going to be amazing. I had like two or three of them. Um, uh, the bounce spell that proliferates, which
Hmm.
I do think it's legitimately
That is
quite
good.
good.
That is good.
Uh, but that was like I just thought those cards were amazing, and I think maybe I don't know if other people had realized already that blue sucked or like this was just what I had to go through to realize that blue sucked, but I tried to like make this work a few times. Had decks that I thought were awesome, full of uncommons, and just got trounced. And I was like, you know what? Stop drafting blue, Jeff. Just
Hmm.
let's test the theory. Don't draft blue, no matter how much you're tempted by like the late, divination. um,
Hmm.
and just don't draft it. And so it was like an honest discovery on my part that blue is bad just by really, really thinking it was awesome and drafting it like 3, 4 times in a row and just getting annihilated.
Yeah, that was. Um, I had similar things, though. Specifically, I this also goes with the I don't like the sorcery draw spell card because I also don't love
If you say you don't
divination.
like divination, I'm not...
I just don't like it. I don't like it.
you don't like
I
one mana divination though?
No, yeah, I like one mana divination, but that card was
Yeah,
never
that
you.
payoff is real,
Yeah,
right?
no. That payoff is imaginary because you never get there, or you're dead by the time that you get to use it, so it doesn't matter. So like, so like you're like sick. I did all this stuff, and then they have like three attackers, and it's lethal next turn, but I get like one removal spell or something. It just never worked out. Like I would,
Yeah, but I mean, like, what that, if you turn it on, that is a payoff worth like trying to,
yeah,
uh,
yes, yeah.
right? Like, when I say the payoff is real, I mean, like, the upside of this card is there.
Yes,
It's
yes,
just
yes,
that
yes,
you're
yes,
never
yes.
gonna like actually, it's
It
never
doesn't.
really gonna happen.
I just had it in my hand too many times for me to be like, you know what, fuck this card. I knew divination sucked,
Yeah.
and then I would see it in the draft and be like, nope, I'm not taking that fucking card, even if I'm playing blue.
And this format is not a divination friendly
No,
format.
it's not. And like decks I
You
like
won't take
playing.
this even if you're in blue.
No, because yes, I wouldn't take it because most of the time I wasn't even playing a poison deck. So then it's like
And it's just
so
divination.
so if I'm playing blue and there might be some weird a corner case where I could turn it on, I don't take it because I'm like I can't. It's like if it comes back around and like I happen to get one, cool. But I'm not going to prioritize it. I'll take something else over it for sure. Um,
That's fair. Yeah. I think if I were in blue, I would be tempted by this card still, but I just
yeah.
don't draft blue, so I don't know.
Yeah, and that's why I feel so strongly that I don't like it because even when I was playing blue, I'd usually be playing like an artifact deck, so then I didn't care about it.
I definitely see that with the draw three proliferate. Even if I was in blue, I would ignore that card,
Yeah,
like for sure.
for sure, because it's just
And I wouldn't even consider it like that would be like a. It's the only blue card, or it's the only card in my colors in the pack. I'll take it
yeah,
to like send a signal or
message.
whatever.
Yeah, and then just like
But
take
it
it at
goes
the
right
right
into
time.
the sideboard.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
because
Yeah.
I can't.
Drag that right into that little
Yeah,
sideboard.
like the games where I'm playing and my opponent played like one creature on turn 3 and then on turn 5 they do that card and I'm like, all right, you're thank you, cool.
Thanks for the win.
You're
Yeah.
not gonna like it
I
doesn't
was a little
matter.
nervous, but my opening hand is a little slow. But
Yeah,
if you're doing that,
I'm
it
fine.
looks like it's friggin' lightning fast.
Yeah, it's like the concept that like card advantage doesn't matter if you like lose the game with cards in your hand, like you didn't have time to play
Right.
them, so it doesn't matter. It's
Yeah,
just
it's the old joke of mono red's card advantage is killing
mhm.
you with 5 cards in your hand.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I love that. It's the best. Like when I heard that for the first time, I was like, "What? Oh,
Yeah.
that's crazy." It's like, yeah, I do. I played all my cards, and you didn't get to play all your cards, so that means I got card advantage
Yeah.
over you.
Yeah. Sometimes you look at a game, right, and you're like, I cast 2 spells, my opponent casts 6. No wonder I lost.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
uh, I also really liked For Mirrodin,
mhm.
not just because of the name and getting to yell For Mirrodin every single time.
Yeah,
Um, but this is essentially like Living Weapon. I really liked that they did it on the Mirren side this time. I thought that was really
I didn't
neat.
actually think about
Um,
that specifically, but you're right. Yeah, it is for like the Mirrodin or the Mirrens.
yeah, and it's the only difference is like it's a 2/2 and instead of a 0/1 or whatever the germ was.
Hmm.
And the cards are balanced appropriately for that. Um, but these had a huge impact on limited as well. Like there was a whole deck that's maybe the second best deck. I mean, it
Hmm.
depends who you're asking. For me, it was the best deck.
Hmm.
Um, but great limited mechanic, honestly,
Yeah.
because it's just nice when you play something. They're just 2/2s. None of the equipment like was so good that um like the card on its own, you wouldn't play it. But it's just
Hmm.
like nice to get to play so much equipment because it just comes with this 2/2. Even if sometimes like, oh, it's a 2 mana 3/1. That's not really a limited card. But that card was amazing just because
Hmm.
it just gave that little extra. I mean, it doesn't hurt that 3/1s are just probably decent in this format, but it gave
Yeah.
just a little extra kick later. You could pump up something's power and it mattered. And that
Hmm.
was nice.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought that was also great. I also like it that as opposed to like living weapon, where like your germ token dies if you don't have the weapon with it, like you could just play the equipment just to get a 2/2 as a blocker, because you could move the equipment to your attackers or your flyer or something like that. It actually made
Yeah.
the longevity of it much better, and also like you said, making the equipment not as busted. Um, because you don't it doesn't have to
Yeah.
be an entire creature on its own. um it was just really
But
nice.
equipment has that problem, right? In limited, where it's either like really good or
Mhm.
you just don't play it.
Yeah.
Because like it's so bad to draw equipment and no creatures.
Hmm.
It's just horrible. And so in order to have an equipment be in your deck, it has to be really, really good. And
Yeah.
so there's always that limited format with like there's like that pirate's blade or whatever from that one where it's just like, oh, this is just really good. And every deck wants it. And then Or it's just there's all this equipment that nobody even considers taking. Like they take it dead last and put it in their sideboard, and it just
Like
didn't matter.
every single game. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's nice
So
to get to actually play with equipment, which is
mhm,
honestly a card type I play with pretty much never because it's almost never good enough in constructed,
mhm.
and it's almost never good enough in limited. So it's just like, what is this card type doing? And so I'm glad they're
Yeah.
experimenting with different ways of getting us to actually play equipment.
Yeah, which is good because like the only ones we ever see are the auto equip ones that like when they enter they
Yeah,
jump on something, which is like Embercleave and Skyclave,
Embercleave. Yeah,
whatever that fucking was, it an axe or a sledgehammer or something?
Mall of the Skyclaves or
Mall of the
something.
Skyclaves, that's what it's called. So it's a mall, whatever that is.
Yeah.
A place for all the fantasy people to go shopping, but um
Oh
no,
God,
so
I'm sorry.
um but yeah, so in constructed, like we even like the swords and stuff, like this set had a sword, which was pretty sweet. um but for the most part, like we don't really get to see that in, I think they might play it in green card as like a card to go get, or a random sideboard pieces
Yeah,
like.
I think some people put it in their sideboards because,
Mhm.
like, hey, if you come up against Gruul, fuck them up.
Yeah, but I do think that making sure that that is interesting, finding other ways for equipment to be like good or interesting, or maybe they need to have more, when they added static abilities to planeswalkers, maybe equipment need to have something like that, so it's like it's almost,
Yeah,
it's like a regular artifact that you would play with, like, and then you can also put it on somebody.
yeah,
So
they've been messing around with it, right? Because it's clearly a problem. It's a very cool card type. It's
mhm.
very flavorful. Um, but if you make it too good, the fact that it sticks around means it's easy to make it too good. So they always have to like dial it way back, and then it just sucks, and it's like nobody's playing it. So they're trying different things. Like they tried to make the transfigure like creature equipment
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
from Beyond Dynasty. They tried the auto equip thing, and
Hmm.
that just was like really good.
Hmm.
but I don't have a huge issue with the auto equip thing actually. Like the first time's free, and the next time you have to pay for.
Yeah, it's like the meth dealer in Under the Bridge. Yeah, first one's free,
That's right.
and then
First one's on me.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and then you have to pay for the rest of them.
uh, yeah. So I can appreciate that they're trying to do something, and this for Mirrodin clearly wasn't really targeted at constructed play, but
No,
it worked great in limited. So
which is awesome,
um,
and
yeah,
power to them. Um, that, and then proliferate. I don't know. I think proliferate in general is fine. It's the type of mechanic
yeah,
that can be. I think it can be really interesting, but it tends to be the type of thing that like I'm not already interested in changing a bunch of counters on stuff, specifically in
yeah.
paper, because there's so many stinking things. It can be always annoying to like always have to move dice, or in general, skipping through sagas and stuff like that isn't something I'm super excited about, which some people really
Yeah,
like.
the interaction with sagas is weird. It's
Hmm.
like, isn't this bad?
Yeah,
Like,
because
I know I get them both now, but like,
do I want
is that
that?
what I want?
So,
Yeah.
in those kinds of cases, I didn't love it, but being able to have proliferate in a set that like didn't have that. I mean, it had a good amount of planeswalkers, but it wasn't like War the Spark, where it's like my planeswalkers are better and like fuck you.
Yeah.
And there weren't +1/+1 counters. It was just like all oil stuff. I think it worked really well in the set and was a nice like side mechanic, um, which could also be a reason
I
why
liked it
blue.
in
I was just gonna say it's
yeah.
probably could be a reason why blue wasn't fantastic, because it proliferate happens to work sometimes, with like trawler
Yeah.
drakes and stuff. But trawler drake.
It's not a coincidence that the two worst colors were the proliferate colors.
Hmm.
I I agree with what you're saying. Like they acknowledged that like proliferate is a very, very strong mechanic. Just
Hmm.
what that keyword does is so much more than most keywords. Like that's really strong. You get to put an additional counter of any type on everything. It's
Hmm.
crazy. I think my issue with how they handled it here, I really liked it coming in because, like you said, there are no +1/+1 counters in this set. It's not all about planeswalkers like it was last time. With the story they were telling me, or like what they were selling, was it's going to be about poison counters on your opponent, but it's not in the toxic colors.
Hmm.
And it's going to be about oil counters, but again, only some overlap with that. It's not like the big oil count, and that sounded great. I think what they did is they took out +1/+1 counters, which are part of what makes Proliferate so strong, in order to correct for, hey, Proliferate's really strong. But then they also designed the cards thinking that Proliferate is very strong. So
Hmm.
it ends up like stacking the two sort of, they stacked their two like insulations, and it just ended up being like Proliferate sucks
Yeah.
because like the cards are bad because they have Proliferate on them. But then Proliferate isn't as good as this card was designed. Like they designed this card thinking Proliferate's really good, but Proliferate's not good because it just does oil counters and poison counters.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
like proliferating oil counters in blue black is not good. You get an extra scry out of your one drop. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
like,
The only time
um,
it was really strong was with if you had a couple trawler drakes or even one, but that was because you
yeah,
doubled up because the trawler drake already gets one from playing a
right.
non-creature
And then
spell.
even just casting the spell has probably
Hmm.
been pretty good. Like if that spell had just cost one less and didn't have proliferate, that would have been better, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Um, yeah, that is interesting.
So
So that's probably why I felt pretty good with it because in general, it's not a mechanic I love. Um,
it's a little too like on the nose and ridiculously powerful to
yeah,
me as a mechanic. And that's why I'm always a little I was excited for this one because it felt like, oh, they
something different.
understand proliferate. They came
Yeah.
in. You can only proliferate kind of bad counters, um, but still stuff that could seriously matter, like
Hmm.
certainly poison counters. Proliferating that matters. It just feels like they doubled up. They were like,
I think
proliferate's too
that's
strong. We got to design cards with that in mind, but also we're not going to make proliferate strong because there are no +1/+1 counters.
yeah. I
And like
think
even the card you mentioned
mhm.
is essentially +1/+1 counters.
Yes,
Like it's oil,
that's
but
true.
like it's the one of the only +1/+1 counter cards in the set.
Hmm. Yeah, with a couple of like, there's a couple red ones as well. So, and that deck never really came together
Yeah.
either. Um,
No.
so,
Again, proliferate sucks. So
mhm.
uh, and oil counters for me were like middle ground. The first three mechanics we talked about I thought were great. Oil counters I thought were like, okay,
They're
this
replaceable. They're
this was a thing in the set. I didn't hate it, but it wasn't like super cool and I loved it.
Yeah, it also could have been
And
like
then
on most any other plane. We could see that in Kaladesh.
yeah,
We can see it in
I mean,
Brunt
they're just
4.
called oil, right? But I didn't get like a
Hmm.
super Phyrexian sort of feeling from it. It was just kind of mechanical.
Hmm.
And it was called oil. So I know it's like the Phyrexian sort of,
Sting.
I don't know.
But I know it's
I know
probably,
what it's supposed to be themed around, but
yeah. Though of all the things, like I'm glad we didn't do -1/-1 counters again, because then proliferating
it would
those
be
is painful.
ridiculous with proliferate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then well, isn't that what happened last time when we were on like in Mirrodin? Yeah, so or Phyrexia, sorry.
And I think that's the mistake they acknowledged, right? It's like we
Hmm.
did like crazy poison, all in poison, and -1/-1, like, and then proliferate
Yeah, I think they had a card.
is too strong.
It was like a single black for an instant that was like target creature gets gets a -1/-1 counter and then proliferate on it. And so it's like that's a good card, but it's also like, oh, what a fucking it just makes it also makes like limited take forever because all the creatures are so small that like
Yeah.
the game takes a long time.
I mean, they had that card in this set, right? Gave -1/-1 and proliferated.
Yeah. They just changed it from a
I like
counter.
how they made that nod
That's
to it.
true.
They're
I
like,
didn't
no,
even
this
like
is what we should have done.
yeah, this is much better. That's funny. I didn't even like put that together. As I'm literally saying it. But yeah, um, it is funny. We are leaving. I mean, we're still in Phyrexia. We're actually going to be in all the planes very soon,
That's
which is
right.
crazy. There's a lot of stuff to talk about with that, so I'm excited to get to it at some point. Um, but as we're kind of closing a little bit with these Phyrex and some things came out, and I'm feeling a little sad. I like them. I like Poison. I like
Yeah. Zach Zach has completed. That's what I'm
Yeah,
taking from this.
yeah. It's a little sad.
Phyrexia completes you.
Yeah, they complete me. Um, Jeff, do you want to go to a beer break and then we can talk about the rest of our? We can look back on our first sips or our worthless slots is what it is. That's the word, worthless slots from our first sips episode.
Sure. I just have one final thought about this set,
Give it to
especially
me.
particularly in limited. I don't know if anyone else felt this, but for me, it took a little while to figure out what was an artifact creature and what was not, because everything looked like an artifact creature just from the art.
Yeah,
And so I had to like actually, and I didn't know any of the names or cards yet, so I had to like actually like I know the border's a little different, whatever, but I was just like, wait, is this an artifact or no? How good is artifact removal? I don't know, because everything looks like a fucking artifact, but it's
yeah.
not.
The amount of times that like the Unctus retrofitter I tried to like animate as an artifact or like do some different things with it,
Yeah.
I kept or I would like, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna play this, that'll make this turn into a creature, then I was like, this isn't a fucking artifact. It looks like an artifact. It does stuff with artifacts, and it's not. And I know it's not, but I just kept forgetting it. It was so frustrating. Ugh.
Yeah, and I get why they did it. Like they're
Mhm.
trying to avoid the artifact set,
Thing.
curse of
Yeah,
everything being an artifact. But like Phyrexians are artifacts, right? Like they're cyborgs,
hmm,
so are they not? I don't know. They all look like artifact creatures, and then they're not, and you're like, wait a minute, I
that's
can't
true.
shatter that. Oof, I'm gonna lose.
I mean, but like forever, Phyrexian Rager isn't an artifact. Like we have a ton of Phyrexians from
Okay,
like old school Magic
fair
that
enough.
like are all
Fair enough.
black. So
I mean,
um,
they didn't have colored artifacts at that point, so
that's true. So this might be a nod to that and reminding them that hey, you can't just be like everything's an artifact. Like it
I
just
guess
make
50-50, right? They're like half flesh and half
yeah,
but
exactly.
I tend to think of them more as machine
That's
than
probably
like
good because they also think like that. I think so.
yeah.
Um,
I
yeah.
agree with them.
Hmm. But yeah. Anyway, Jeff, let's go to a beer break and then we can get to our worthless slots. Cheers.
Let's do it.
This beer break is brought to you by our patrons over on Patreon.
That's right. You're already supporting the show just by being a listener, but if you want to support the show even more, the Patreon is the best way to do that. Plus, you get to vote on your favorite co-host by clicking the big old buy Jeff a beer button.
Or the reasonably sized buy Zach a beer button. So go to patreon.com/arena regulars to vote on your favorite host.
Or if you'd rather send us beer emojis rather than IRL beers, join us on our Discord channel. The link should be in the show notes.
That is right. Oof. Jeff, I saw this beer and immediately I thought,
I'm
oh,
nervous.
I got to make you drink this because it
Yeah.
sounded crazy. It looks similar to the can that you had brought in, but this is this monstrosity. It is called Frosty the Friendship Dragon, and it is a whipped frosting double IPA. It's by Flying
Hmm.
Monkeys, which always. So, Flying Monkeys has a reputation of only making the biggest kick you right in the dick type of beers, um, which is 8.3%. That's what this is. Because all of the beers are
Yeah.
like 10% or like it's just like all of them are at least 7 and above, it feels like. Um, anyway,
Yeah, they've sort of cornered or they have a big hold on the niche weird beer market. It even says on their can like normal is weird. I think that's
yeah.
their kind of motto or whatever. Um, and they always seem to balance out the super weird flavors with a lot of alcohol.
Yes.
That's kind of their
And
value proposition.
yeah, and most of their beers have really weird names, but also taste delicious. So it's been a while because I've been staying away from really intense high alcohol beers. But Jeff, let's do it. Let's
Yeah.
crack into to
All
Frosty.
right.
Here we go.
So I do not like frosting, but I love double IPAs. So let's see how
that
this goes.
this will be really interesting then.
I
Um,
feel like most people have the exact opposite opinion, but
yeah, I think I like frosting, but not. I don't love cake in general, so like
Same,
frosting's like sugar.
same.
Frosting's fine, but like I'm not like, oh, we gotta try this thing because the frosting, whatever. But I've never had a beer that was trying to tout that it was frosting. So I
For
don't know.
sure. Me neither.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm the guy that's scraping the frosting off the cake that he doesn't really
Oh.
want in the first place.
See, I will still eat it the way it's supposed to be, just so I can like say, oh, either that was too much frosting or not enough, or this cake is whatever and dry or blah 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 blah. But I won't usually pick it if I am picking desserts
Mhm.
when I randomly decide to eat desserts. So, mm.
Yeah, I'm not a big dessert guy, but I would go cheesecake if I had to. Anyways,
Ooh,
we should talk about magic, I
yeah.
guess.
Also, real quick, cheesecake is 100% a pie. Like it's got to be a pie.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it's not a cake.
yeah, cheese pie, but that's just a pizza.
I
Anyway,
think of it as its own thing personally.
it is basically its own thing,
It stands in a category all on its own.
but
The
like a
cheese stands alone.
yeah. Anyway, we'll get into a pie debate at another time, um,
Yeah,
which I'm very excited for that.
haven't
Whatever
even
that
had
is.
haven't even tried the 8% beer yet. I'm still debating whether cheesecake is a pie or not.
Oh, it's definitely a pie. Um, but anyway, our first episode was quite a few episodes back, and we had taken some shots at your face. I tried to keep it. I tried to keep it low when I was trying it, but anyway, we always do some worth a slots, which is us picking beers we think are worth a slot in your most of the time standard decks, and so we get to look back on see whether we think any of those are actually worth a slot in your deck or not. I think this time around, we had some ups, we had some downs, but we had some really interesting ones though. I'll start us
Yeah.
off because my
All right.
layup. Oh, also, sorry, Jeff. Do you want to explain how we do our worth of slots, just for people who didn't listen to the other one or have never listened to us ever?
Yes. Being the jocks that we are, we
Mhm.
decided to use a basketball
Basketball.
basketball metaphor. Yeah. So basically, we're going to order these. So the layups, these are the cards we think, this is pretty easy. Obviously, this card's good. It's almost certainly going to see play. Then we like to do a 3-pointer. That's like cards good, but you know, it's a kind of a toss up whether that's actually going to end up seeing play or not. And then we have our half court shot, always my favorite. Um, these are cards that almost certainly aren't going to see play, but we just like them or we want them to see play is usually
Hmm.
the the actual criteria. Um, and then we also round it out with just what's an overrated card, what's the most overrated card in the set, and what's the most underrated card in the
Yeah,
set.
which aren't necessarily worth a slot in your deck, but worth a slot in your heart.
That's
So
right.
let's start off. I'm going to go first. So my layup was the Eternal Wanderer, and oof, yeah, I really picked an easy one there. Mono white mid
Yeah,
range.
card's amazing.
Using the Eternal Wanderer is like a huge deck in standard. It's everywhere, and it won an RCQ in Canada. So
Yeah,
yeah, this
in
is
Ottawa actually.
yeah in Ottawa. Yeah, there you go. So yes, this is easy to lay up. The Eternal Wanderer, great card. Saw it from a mile away. Best Planeswalker of the set.
I actually recognized a few of the people in the top 8, and I was like,
Oh yeah.
who are these people? Like, because I'm from Ottawa, so I was like, who are they? And then I realized I recognized them from Toronto. I
Oh
played
yeah.
against them when I was in Toronto, so that's why it was hard to like place them. But I used to play face to face. Yeah, the Eternal Wanderer. It's not like a 4 of generally, but
Mm-mm.
it's an amazing card that slot into a deck that was already good. So
Yeah, and
good
gave
call.
the deck like a good board wipe that like
Extra dimension that
yeah.
it didn't have before. Yeah. Yeah, so my layup I think was a little less successful, but I'm still relatively happy with it. This
Mm-hmm.
was Glissa Sunslayer. Um, this card, it sees play in Jund, and it actually kind of spawned or helped spawn. It was one of the reasons that Jund became a deck that people started playing again. I think Grixis sort of won the, if we're going to be a red-black mid-range deck, we're going to play Grixis battle, like before this set came out. And this card, with a couple others, pushed Jund back into the conversation, although I think ultimately Grixis just won again. So it's like Grixis reigns supreme as the red-black mid-range deck of standard, but I think this card was good enough that it gave people some thought. Some very good players decided to play Jund over Grixis, or at least try it, because of cards like this and Tyvar and stuff like that. So,
some very
say,
good
like,
players,
was...
as in you, as a very good player. Some
no,
very good players have decided to
really accomplished, some amazing podcasters.
Yeah.
No, I've actually never played Glissa.
Oh, really? Okay.
You can't get it back with Tyvar, man.
That's true.
Can't get it back with Tyvar.
Yeah, it's so good.
I should have put Tyvar here, actually, but I thought that was too obvious.
Yeah. I would have, if you tried to put Tyvar as a layup, I would have been like, really interesting.
Yeah. I should have put him on my list somewhere, because I loved Tyvar from the beginning.
Yeah, I think what happened is we just talked about him at another point, and sometimes we try to not do layups as cards that we talked about, which is important to think about as we go into our next ones. So check out, we're going to have like our first sips will be in a few weeks, so wait for that to see how that goes.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough set for that too, because there's some
bangers,
unique cards.
There's also a million words on everything, so like it's gonna be really hard for me to
classic Zach loves those,
actually know what any of the cards are. But I think Glissa seems great. Glissa seems great coming into new standard, which will be with the next set, which we may talk about at some point. But yeah, I think really, as it didn't feel as much of, it didn't really go in. It was like it was
so for me, I went up for the layout and it's bouncing around on the rim, and it's still bouncing.
Yeah, we're waiting for
we'll
it to
see
fall.
If it drops.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It still has a lot of energy. There's a lot of motion going on.
That's right.
And we'll see if it goes.
The game's just been like postponed for a few months while we wait to see if this goes in.
Exactly. That's absolutely what's happening. So my 3-point shot was Tyvar Stand, amazing protection spell / kill spell.
Yeah.
Or like fireball kind of. Love it. And I also think that I did it. This is now.
Yeah.
Originally, I was talking about it being helpful to get green back into the game, which it did. But green was specifically poison and specifically that deck, and not really other decks. So I don't know if it would. It made it into standard, and you will see it. But I was hoping it would help. It would be strong enough to bring another deck into the fray, not just one, but maybe a whole color. But it didn't really do that. But you still see it and you still think about it. So
yeah, you have to think about this card now, especially if you're playing against Toxic. It's like they always have it. Yeah, it's just tough because it's kind of clearly at its best in an aggro deck. And how many green aggro decks can the format support, right?
It's true.
It's always going to end up being a best one, and that one kind of rises to the top. But yeah, I mean, this is a great call. This card is annoyingly good.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. This card, by the way, was a super high pick for me in Limited. I think it was very rare that I took something over this that like wasn't a rare.
I first picked this card so many times. I love it.
It's very, very good. The duality of protecting something and just sometimes you just I have 8 mana and I drew Tyvar's Stand. I guess I win.
Yeah. Because I can get at least one might through that kind of stuff. Perfect.
Yeah. My 3-pointer, I think I missed it. I picked Jace, the Perfected Mind, which is a card I still like. I still will be brewing with Jace. But I think some people tried it when it first came out. There were a few decks, a few people playing Jace, and I don't think any of them stuck around. So
Yeah, I think specifically for standard, no. However, this was the primary win condition in the Arena
oh god,
Championship #2 historic deck where they were
yeah,
playing the Kethis combo.
the Kethis
So
combo. Yeah, I'm not gonna count that because I hate that. So
I'm just saying that
yeah,
it was a
that's almost
huge
like a slap in
player.
the face. The card I chose actually enabled the deck that I hate.
Yeah.
Kethis
Well,
combo.
I didn't realize you
It
hated
makes
Kethis
sense
combo,
now that
but
I doesn't everyone.
I
Um,
mean, no.
I think anyone who played against it when it was the best deck in the format probably hates it.
Yeah.
Um, but like
It's
looking back, it makes perfect sense that this card is amazing in Kethis and is like good enough to give the deck a resurgence. But it just wasn't even on my radar, right? Like
yeah, of
Kethis combo
course.
and historic, obviously, I'm not thinking about that.
Exactly. Yeah. But I do think that like pointing out that this is a powerful card and can do powerful things
Yeah,
was
no, that's
the
fair.
point of our exercise. So I do want to give you a little bit of credit for that, even though I
I
know
do
you.
not accept it.
Okay, all right. Well, just slap me right in my face then, which is perfect
I
because
appreciate what you're trying to do,
yeah, I
but
was trying to be nice to you, man. What the fuck? Whatever, it doesn't matter. Um,
it's
my
okay. I've got a good half court shot.
yeah, you do because my half court shot was just a big old, just a huge, massive turd. It's just the ball. You know those videos where like they're like dribbling the ball and then the ball just explodes because they put too much air in it. It's kind of like that,
Yeah.
like what happened. Where I picked Green Sun's Twilight because I was
Honestly, don't even know what that card does. I honestly don't. If I had to tell you what Green Sun's Twilight does right now, I don't think I can tell you. It okay, wait. It looks at X cards, so they're all X spells.
yeah.
Looks at X cards, and you could put like a creature and a land into your hand.
No, it goes into play.
And it goes into play.
Yes. Jeff, you don't even remember our
And
episode at all. This was.
oh, it was oh yes, okay. It was for my card. Okay, yeah.
Sorry,
But if
it
you have
is.
five, I'm trying to think of what it does if you have five or more. I thought
Sorry,
it was it
yes,
goes into your hand, but
you're
if it's
right.
five or more, it goes into play.
Yeah, but there's no reason you would play it for less
The
than
card would be
five.
so good if it just put it into play
But that's the only thing that
without the five or
matters.
more.
That's the only thing that matters. Um,
Yeah, it would be like a. It would be like you just play all creatures and lands, and then this card, and you just play it for like X equals one. You just the worst case scenario is you like play a free land off the top. Like you
no,
rampant growth for one.
that okay, sure.
That'd be way too
But
good.
you can get a creature and or a land, so you get
Yeah.
both into your
But I
hand
mean,
and
if
then
it let you put it into play for cheap,
always.
you would always play this for like one or two, and just
Well,
like, oh
X equals one, yeah. But
yeah, oh
eh,
yeah, X equals one.
yeah,
Don't play it for one.
yeah,
It's
because
not a
that
great
just
play.
doesn't do anything. Anyway, the reason I had picked this is because I was hoping Green would get some sort of resurgence, like I just talked about, and uh, I wanted it to be a combo with Atraxa, but that didn't end up working out. And it it's I think I had the classic blinded by draft. You know, I think I played
Yeah,
it 3 times before we like I had drafted it a lot. I kept getting the card, and it was amazing in draft. And I was like, this card's fucking busted. Play it.
I've
Um,
literally never played it. I've never played against it. I've seen one person cast it, and that was Shota at the Pro Tour in his draft deck. And he
mhm.
used it just to search for a land on turn two because he didn't have another land.
Yeah, well, Shota was watching me play, and so that's why he
Yeah,
showed
he's
it to
like,
me
well,
for
okay,
sure.
well, this
Oh,
actually plays this
yeah.
card. All right.
Ah, good.
Yeah.
No, because I had
That's how he top aided.
there were a couple times I had Tyrannus Rex with it, and so you just like for free play your Tyrannus Rex attack.
That
It
would
was just
make me
like
so mad if that
yeah,
happened to me.
where I just like top deck like my tutor card, and then my deck is so small that I just like all right,
Yeah.
throw it
I
out
mean, and you're
there.
playing it for like a bunch at that point,
Yeah.
probably like
And I'm
four or five,
just
nine,
like,
or
yeah,
five.
five at
X equals
least.
five.
But like as much as my entire, all my lands just to find the card I'm looking for, and then attack in with a huge dude. And that has haste, so fuck you. And then you're dead. It was great. I loved it.
Were you playing against blue decks or something? Why are you still alive with 6 lands? Why is the game still going on?
Because I am immaculate at Magic. Just kidding.
Yeah,
I'm
I
really
played
terrible.
perfectly.
Yeah, I drafted
Um,
and played perfectly. But anyway, Jeff, let's stop talking about my cards. I'm really excited for this one. What's your half court shot?
okay, so I feel kind of bad about this one. It's half court shot's so weird because when it works, you're like, was that a fair half court
This is the
shot?
first time it's
Like
worked,
you look
Jeff.
back.
Like really worked. We've never had
That's
a
true.
half.
There's been a couple that have been like,
They've,
somebody played it.
but this
Yeah.
one was a home run slam dunk. Like this was like
Yeah.
you called the shot and then you home run slam dunked. It was crazy.
All right. I picked Atraxa
Mm-hmm.
Grand Unifier. Um, this was so first of all, I want to say I think this card is super well designed for a lot of reasons. There are a lot of reasons I like this card. But the first thing and most obvious thing is I think something you brought up when we were talking about it, but like this is a reanimator target, right? And I think Wizards doesn't want Reanimator to be good. They don't want it to be like the best deck.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of get that because the experience gets very samey if it's just like, oh, on turn 3, I reanimate some creature you can't possibly beat. And I do it so consistent because that's what to make Reanimator the best deck, it has to be super consistent. I just consistently do that to you. It's not a fun experience. On the other hand, people love Reanimator because it lets you play gigantic, ridiculous creatures in like, you know, with a straight
Competitive.
face.
Yeah.
Um, so uh, there's that like balance they have to do. And all it requires is a creature that's fucking worth reanimating. And it's been so long since they've given us that. And the reason is like you have to make a creature that's worth reanimating, but doesn't just win the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it just wins the game, then that's lame. Um, so this is like the perfect, it's threading that needle perfectly because it's a 7/7 flying lifelink, death touch, whatever, vigilance. Obviously, that's going to win the game, except it doesn't have any protection at all. Like you just like fucking go for the throat hit.
Yeah. Done.
Boom, dead. It's so easy to deal with. Almost everything people play in standard kills it. And when you're all in on reanimating something, they have those in their hand because they didn't play them on anything else. Unless you were lucky enough that they had to burn like 3 removal spells on a couple of Kiki Jikis. But so you don't lose when your opponent reanimates Atraxa. You just kill it.
Mm-hmm.
But it does drive them like 5 cards. So you are going to lose the long game. So it's still worth reanimating. Like, I think this is kind of the perfect answer to that question of let's make Reanimator viable, but not the best. How do we do that? Let's make a card that's worth reanimating, but doesn't just win the game. And Atrax is like, they hit the nail on the head with that one. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
it's that card.
Yeah. It's it's awesome. Like they even like gave us Atraxa and then also were like, oh, here's Grizzlebrand into historic. And people like looked at it and were like, I already have one. Like I don't need that
I'm
one.
going to do Atraxa.
It
Yeah.
gets better. I don't
But
have
that's
to.
why Gristlebrand was always the card of choice, right? Because, like, even if you kill this, I'm going to draw 7 cards.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think they tried something similar with Titan of Industry, and Titan of Industry just wasn't it. It just wasn't good enough.
Mm-hmm. No.
It's not worth dedicating your game plan to. This card is, but it also is like it doesn't just draw you 5 cards. You got to work for those 5 cards. You have to have different card types in
Mm-hmm.
your deck. Like you have to vary the types of spells you're playing, have a fair number of each, so that in 10 cards you're likely to hit a bunch of different ones.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it kind of draws you 3 cards. It's gonna be like creature, land, whatever you play the most of.
Instant. Yeah.
So you gotta. Now, I mean, the deck that plays this naturally is playing like Fable of the Mirror Breaker, and it's gonna play like instants and sorceries and creatures and lands, and then it's like, okay, it's not that hard to get 4 or 5 cards off Atraxa, but
Mhm.
it still isn't free. You
Yeah.
gotta you gotta think about it a little bit.
It's true, and it's exciting because now people are going to be looking for the best battle that will be going into Atraxa decks because now
Yeah.
Atraxa is going to give us battles, which we haven't talked about and we won't be talking about, but you know,
And the
we've
setup of putting battle in the reminder text was super cool. Love it.
chef's kiss.
Love it. Yeah, chef's kiss for
Ultimately,
that one.
Atraxa was fucking awesome, and the fact that people built many decks around this, you built a sweet deck around it, and that it's everywhere and actually good. You know, it's also like
Mhm.
it's a pivotable um, deck where like you can play it, but then also like take out the combo and like put in regular cards. Great.
Yeah. And you kind of have to be
Oh,
like, I don't think it's
sorry.
tier 1. I think it kind of netted out that no Atraxa deck's actually tier 1.
Mhm.
But you always have to be prepared for it. Like,
Yeah.
because you can just get got by Atraxa if you're not ready. So you need to kind of dedicate some space in your sideboard and or main deck to like whatever remove like exile effects, or you need you need a plan for
Mhm.
Atraxa basically.
Yeah. Exactly. Boom. Love it. Jeff, we also have some underrated and overrated cards to talk about, though we kind of know them a little bit. And then we're going to get to our favorite cards from the set, the ones that just like mean a lot to us
Yes.
as we get into it. So let's quickly talk about our overrated and then the one underrated card we had, and then go to our favorites. Um, my overrated card was a really super hyped artifact that was blue and did nothing. And you saw it in draft constantly because nobody wanted to pick it, which is Mind
Yeah.
Splice Apparatus. That card fucking sucks. I said
Yeah.
it from the
Yeah,
beginning.
you nailed it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw some of its potential, but people were fucking losing their minds over this card, and it
Yeah.
doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
That's it.
I've never seen this card on the battlefield.
Mm-mm.
I've seen it in videos or whatever,
Yeah.
like streams or something, but I've never actually played a game where this card affected the game.
Yep.
Um,
Boom.
my overrated choice was Vraska, Betrayal's Sting. People were like talking all about this card, and like Super Friends decks were gonna be it's gonna be Esper Super Friends. Like you go Kaito into Wandering Emperor into this and proliferate. I was like, or you could just go Kaito into Wandering Emperor and not play this piece of shit. Like
Yeah.
that's also pretty good.
Yeah.
I wasn't a buyer on Vraska, and I think we were both proven right on our overrated
Yeah.
cards.
I think it was great. I've seen like that Super Friends deck, and Vraska was like redundant. It was like I'm already dead. Like this
Yeah.
card doesn't do anything.
If you have a bunch of planeswalkers, you're gonna win the game. You don't need an
Mm-hmm.
extra counter on each of them. That's not
Yep.
gonna make or break, you know?
Yeah. Doesn't matter. I actually did not have an underrated card for this set, but you did. And what how do you
Yeah.
feel about it?
Bran Executioner Thane was my choice. I think I might be the only person who has played this card. So um, I'm standing by it. People are still underrating this card.
It's still bouncing around on the hoop. It's waiting to fall. Everyone will see
Yeah,
its
it's
potential.
bouncing in perfect sync with the other ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They're just like this. Yeah. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm excited to see more of it, and I do like it. Um, but hopefully, there's a deck where it just explodes because that's always fun. And
Yeah.
you're probably the one to make it. All right, favorite cards of the set. I got my list. You know what? I'm just gonna like blast, like not blast through mine, but like I'm gonna start first so you can't steal any of mine because I
Oh,
don't.
but I was literally like, Zach, can you send me your list so that I could just steal them all?
Yeah. So we're gonna say our favorite limited standard explorer and our favorite art from the set. So
Mhm.
my favorite limited card is one that like I didn't, it's a very simple card. But it's the type of card that like every time I saw it, I was like, God damn it, am I gonna try to play this deck again? I'm gonna pick this stupid card and I'm gonna play this deck. It happened to me over and over and over again, and it never made me that
I
mad.
think I know what card you're gonna say.
And so I picked my favorite limited card is Pestilent Siphoner, which is the 2 mana 1/1 flying
Ah,
toxic one, which is
I thought you were getting at Crawling Chorus.
that was the other choice. But what would happen with Crawling Chorus is that like it's really good, and I loved playing it on turn 1, and it's great. But like the amount of times I'd be drafting white green and then see Pestilent Siphoner and be like, "Fuck, I should be playing black," and then I would like not
Fair
pick it,
enough.
and then
Yeah.
I'd see another one, I'd be like, "God damn it, I should be playing black," and it would happen so often. I've played decks with like 4 or 5 of these cards because I pick them too highly. Um, but like the play pattern of like Pestilent Siphoner into the enchantment, Necrogen Communion, one of like, oh my god, I
Yeah.
love
I
that
was
so
also
much.
high on the Siphoner, but not on
Mhm.
not on Nitrogen
I
Communion.
was,
Um,
you just won, just one, just
I still
for
remember the episode when we found out that like Pestilence Siphoner is not rated highly on 17 lands. We were both just
yeah.
like really surprised.
I still love
Yeah.
it, and it's the reason I get into black most often is because I see that card. So
Yeah.
um, I love it. It's my favorite. It's my favorite.
Yeah. That's a good choice. I played a lot of this limited format. I also love that card. I loved the rat, I think, a little more, but I had a few choices, few like, options, but in the end, I knew in my heart of hearts what my favorite limited card was, and that would be Hex Gold Hoverwings. God, did I love this card. I played so much of this card, and it's so good. It's ridiculously good. But it would be like if I saw this third, I'd be like, Boros is open. All
Hmm.
in. Like, who's passing this? Only a moron would pass this. Like,
Yeah.
uh, this I definitely overrated this card. Like, it's definitely higher in my pick order than in everyone else's. But this card just wins so many games. This card's so good. I
It's
love
so good.
this card.
I
Yeah.
This card was in my pre-release pack when I was playing originally, and like I was like, oh, this card's fucking great. And then
Yeah.
kind of after that, I like took it for granted because I was like, I had one, it's fine, like it's not that good. But
Right.
then after
That's
playing
just
it, guess
that's what it does.
it becomes like the you got to kill us on site. Um, yeah, love it. Ugh, amazing. Great picks. Great picks. My favorite standard card. Now this is hard. There's a lot of cards that I really like in standard, and a lot of surprising ones. There's one in particular that I really like. I think it does get around to other formats, and I still don't know whether I should pick it for something else. But I am setting it aside because really the card that I love the most, really the most, and when I have it, it's very precious, and I want to keep it around, is Venerated Rot Priest. When I'm playing
Uh,
Poison, this is the card I like the most to see in my opening hand, and the one I want to try to keep on the battlefield for the longest. I don't like running it out early. I like to keep it around so that I have two. I like having two very often, and I love winning by playing spells and having a spell battle with my opponent where they try to kill one, I protect it. They try to kill another one, and I protect it, and that kills them, and they're dead. And finishing the game that way is like that's just the best. If I can set it up so that happens, oh my god, it's just amazing. So I'm never gonna forget that card. I love playing it so much.
yeah, when we were talking about the toxic deck, I remember being struck by how much more interested you seemed to be in like the combo finish than just
Hmm.
like aggroing them out. I thought it'd be like, yeah, it's an aggro deck, and sometimes you kind of and you're like, no, no, but if you have two rot priests,
Yeah,
okay, and the following sequence of
yeah,
events happens, and I'm just
yeah.
like, oh, is it damn? I
Because
didn't realize that's what the discussion was about.
that's what it makes the deck so much fun. I think, which I've
Yeah.
since stepped a little farther away after watching more players play Toxic. I was like, okay, maybe I should free up some space in the deck for like more aggro-y cards, which I have,
Mhm.
which makes cards like Mirix a lot stronger and things like that.
Right.
But I still love the Rob Priest, and he may not be as like he's as strong as everyone thought that he was. Not in the ways that I was hoping with like the oh my god, my favorite card that I literally didn't play because that's my favorite thing to do is talk about my favorite card and then never play it. Um,
Oh, Ivy.
Ivy, there we go. I was only thinking Gleeful Spell Thief in my mind. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I watched somebody else play that deck, and then I was like, oh, it's good, but it's gonna do the thing that's annoying, and it just doesn't work. It's the broken pieces. And I think overall, I like winning the most, and so I just have to be able to know, like, you know what, I just want to win. I should just play that. Anyway.
That's what's that fun balance, right? Like I
Mhm,
definitely love to win. It's just no fun to lose all the time. But I want to win with like my decks,
mhm.
the decks that I like playing.
Yeah, well, that's why
Uh,
creature combo is the best, because creature decks or aggro combo, because aggro
I was
wins,
gonna
and
say,
then
what, creature combo is the best. I'm
yeah,
on board with that. Yeah,
because like comboing is so much fun, but playing a strict combo deck sucks. It's so lame
yeah, it's
and like
boring.
dumb
Yeah,
and like spelly and stupid and artifacts
it's like the
that draw
draw three
cards.
proliferate of the constructed
Ugh,
world.
it's disgusting. I
What is
hate it.
that?
Um, anyway, Jeff, what's your favorite standard card?
Oh man, so many options. It makes me like this set. Going back to try to pick my favorites for this stuff, was like, this was a cool set,
It
man.
was a really cool
And they
set.
had some yeah, they had some, even like I see Phyrexia arena. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that
Mhm.
that was in this set. That's cool. Um, but it's got to be a no-brainer for me here. Um, favorite standard card from this set is maybe not what you're expecting because it's Vat of Rebirth.
Okay.
Uh,
I was, I
everyone, of
would,
course, knows
yeah.
this artifact. It's a absolute classic. It's a staple by now. Um, no, this card is I love Reanimator. I picked Atraxa as like my half court shot, and then I got this card. Was like, it just dawned on me, like, wait a minute, can I merge Reanimator with my favorite deck currently, which is Anvil? I think this card is what lets me do that. And I tried it and it worked. And I was just like, okay, this is just what we're doing this standard season. That's just what we're doing. We're not going to, even if this is only okay, that's
Yeah.
what we're doing. But
And on our Discord channel, John Drew had given us the best name, which is
yeah,
Vatraxa, which is perfect for
yeah,
this.
it's right there.
So,
It's perfect. Thank
yeah,
you, John.
yeah. So, boom. I love that. I was torn between, I thought you were going to do Tyvar or
Mm-hmm.
the Vat, but I definitely thought you were leaning closer to Tyvar. So um, maybe I swayed you a little bit. Um, all right, Jeff. I don't know if you have an Explorer one. This is where I was like on the fence a little bit because my favorite Explorer card, that it's really just because it's cracking. It's hard because I think everyone knows the card I'm trying to talk about is Skrelv because I want to talk about Skrelv.
Mm-hmm.
I love Skrelv. He's my
Yeah,
little
I
Skrelvy
mean, we got to
boy.
mention Skrelv at some
He's like,
point, right?
he's
And
so cute. He's just neon. The fact that
yeah,
Skrelv,
I don't know if he's cute, but
the paper version of Skrelv, this is a real thing that I'm dealing with, is that the regular version, where he's like gnawing on the foot, is more
yeah,
expensive than the alt art version, which is like cool, like black
yeah, yeah.
splatter paint thing, because everyone thinks he's so cute gnawing on the foot. Um, it's like a $2 difference. It's crazy.
Huh.
But anyway, I really want to talk about this card. However, in Explorer, it isn't getting the same traction because we don't have an Auras deck because we are missing our one mana boggle. So that makes it so he's not exactly a great Explorer pick because he's not really an Explorer. Um,
Not yet. I
Not
mean, he's
yet.
in Pioneer.
He's in Pioneer. So if there was a Pioneer pick, if we were picking favorite Pioneer cards, it's definitely Skrelv. Because being able to watch Light Paws and Skrelv go to the finals of the Pro Tour was like knowing that the set that comes out and like Skrelv is a sweet card that I liked and then gets to go to the Pro Tour, like that was so awesome. Like Benton Madsen playing Auras in the finals, even though the finals matches weren't the best, watching him get there was amazing. And like, ugh, just that was phenomenal. Um,
I appreciated the finals to a degree, though, where it was just like sometimes people are like, you got to mulligan until you hit these cards in a matchup. And I'm like, okay, cool, got your advice. And then I go and I just
Mhm.
mulligan to like 3 and lose. I'm like, the fuck was that advice? And I'm
Mhm.
glad to see like a pro player do it at the highest level. It's like sometimes this is just what happens. It doesn't mean I'm doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Um,
And the fact that he
yeah.
actually, the side tangent, but I watched, there's an interview with him and Reed Duke like a week later talking about it.
Oh,
And
I haven't seen that. That's pretty
and
cool.
it was like with the weekly magic thing. And Benton, well, first of all, his internet was horrible, so he kept coming off the Zoom call, and it was hilarious to watch him like leave because every time it was about to happen, he'd be like, "Oh," and then he was about to cuss, and then he drops out and he comes back in. Um, but he had gone back and watched coverage over and over again because he's like a little manic, um,
Mhm.
and he was just saying like, I have rewatched it and I know exactly what my opening hand was when I mulliganed down to 4. And I stand by what I did. And that was the
Right.
right choice.
Like, I
And
don't
I
think
would,
that hand was going to win. Yeah.
and I was like, and I would do it again. And yep, I think I should. That's the correct play is to mulligan until you get the card you need. So that's it. Just it wasn't in the cards, and that's it. But yeah, which is
Right.
awesome to hear him say. But anyway, sorry, that was a long tangent about a card I wasn't exactly picking for Explorer. But
No, I appreciate that.
yeah, really the sprinkle for Explorer, and it's a pick, but it's kind of a cheat, is ossification. Getting a sweet
Sure.
removal spell for
Yeah.
white is good. And I think it's healthy for the format for white to get a strong, cheap removal spell. So yeah. Anyway, that's my actual pick
Yeah.
for Explorer.
I think it's fine to pick something that you just like and is speculative. Like,
Hmm.
this could be good. Doesn't necessarily have to be good now because I don't know if anything's necessarily dominating Explorer from this set. Although I think Atraxa made some waves at some point. But
I think it would. I think Atraxa is
um,
just going to sit around for a while and just be like, "Hey, reanimate me. Treasures are abundant."
yeah, and every time they print some sort of reanimation thing, they're like Atraxa,
Yeah.
like go back to it, right? Which is what I love about cards like that. So that being said, it doesn't have to be established in Explorer. It just has to be a card you really want to play with in
Hmm.
Explorer or
Okay.
are building around in Explorer. And this might also explain my previous pick a little bit. I will be selecting Tyvar, Jubilant Brawler, as my Explorer pick. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of just sacrifice decks, and I think
Hmm.
Tyvar gets a lot of extra value in them. Like, if your cat is just in the graveyard, that's one way you can always shut off the combo because there's no other real way to make food tokens. Um, so you need an oven basically to do to make the cat not suck. But sometimes you find the oven after the cat's dead, or you just have an oven and no cat. Tyvar can mill the cat and bring it back, right? So it can actually help you find the cat. It can assemble the combo, and also just generally, it's much better in older formats because CMC or mana value 2 or less
Hmm.
goes further the older the format is. So I'm really excited to try this in some of those sacrifice shells in Explorer,
That's true.
and I think
That
this card
does.
is just amazing. So yeah.
Yeah.
I wish
I'm.
it could bring back Mayhem Devil. If this said 3 or less, this would be the best card ever. But
Oh, holy
2 or less
shit!
is the right number.
For 3 mana,
Wizards,
three or
you
less.
were correct,
Yeah.
Wizards.
Hmm.
But every time I'm
But
like, oh damn, if this was 3 or less.
like there are really strong things you can do with 2 or less. Like think about Luris, right? Like the first time I looked at
Yeah,
Luris, I was like, oh, 2 or less is not enough stuff. Like it's not gonna be that good.
garbage.
Busted. Fucking busted. So
Banned in Legacy a week later or whatever.
well, if you can do it to like a bunch of those busted cards for sure, but like
Yeah,
only legal
but like
in
that's
historic and commander, I guess. But
yeah.
um, yeah,
This card is kind of like fixed Luris in a way.
yeah.
It's like you don't get it for free, and
Hmm.
you have to commit a little more and whatever. But like, and like I think the interaction with Blood Tithe Harvester and Fable of the Mirror Breaker is already good enough in
Hmm.
Explorer. Like those are already Explorer cards. That interaction is like amazing that Tyvar has with those cards that people are already playing.
Yeah.
And so it only needs a little more juice to like get it over the finish line, I think. So I'm super excited to build a cat oven deck with Tyvar, and see what like 2 drops are in Explorer that aren't in Standard that really leverage the power of Tyvar a little more, because we're a bit short on like 2 drops with awesome activated abilities in Standard.
Hmm.
It's really just kind of Blood Tithe Harvester and like mana tappers. But you can get a bit more creative and Explorer with that, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. This is probably not a card that would actually work out. How expensive was Fiend Artisan again? What was that card? The
I love Fiend Artisan.
is that 2 mana?
It's a 2 drop. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's a 2 drop. It's Golgari Golgari.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe. Um, but okay, Jeff, we are going into our favorite art.
Yeah,
All right. So I was specifically I sometimes I want to give myself the like the parameters that like I want to pick a card that isn't like an alternate art for something because nowadays there's a million different arts and they're all amazing and it's
true.
really it just gets way hard. But an art that
Yeah,
always stood out to me every time I was playing, and I don't even know if it was like obviously it was on purpose, but like the specific card that was on also happens to be a very good card in draft, but it's the type of card that every time I saw it, it was extremely striking and like took my attention, which was good because I wanted to draft it as well. Which
mhm.
is Hex Gold Slash by Eli Minaya. That card, just like the use of white in the set, is like it's very strong to have most of the background be white because the set is a really murky and dark and like hazy and there's a lot of smoke and like all the dross stuff and everything there's either like a purple haze or a green haze or something going on, so the fact that it looked like there's like a snow white card where like I don't know where they are or what's happening, but it's so striking that it's always made me stop to look at it. And honestly, most of the time it's in pack 3 when I'm wishing that I was in red and I can't actually pick the card. So, yeah.
Yeah. This art could literally be like a reprint for Scred. If they put this as like Scred's new art, the
Hmm.
deals damage equal to the honor of basic snow mountains or whatever that card is. Um, that wouldn't even surprise me. It looked like a snow card at first, but
Hmm.
it really does stand out amongst the rest of the art, like you said. Um, Mine was kind of interesting, but I just really like the art for Vanish into Eternity. I know you were talking about like good cards,
Yeah.
but I find this piece just really nice. And it's so there's this thing where sometimes I see a piece by Magali Villeneuve. I'm just like, that's Magali Villeneuve. I can tell just like looking at it immediately. I'm like, that's her.
Hmm.
And then I check the artist credits, like, yeah, sure enough. She has a very unique way of like drawing or like painting magic. And it really appeals to me. It's like some faded colors and like her characters are always super realistic, and then the magic is
Hmm.
kind of like artsy, and that juxtaposition I always think is really cool. Um, and this is another piece by her that I think is
Hmm.
great. She has some amazing ones in the upcoming set from previews I've seen where I'm just like, that's definitely her. And then I see the artist credit, I'm like, yeah, it
Hmm.
was her. Um, if you like look at her, if you sort by her or whatever, you'll see what I mean about she paints magic in her own way, and you can always see like the negate that she did, or like Chandra Torch of Defiance. I'm always like, yeah,
Hmm.
that's how she paints magic,
Yeah.
and I've just grown to really like it.
Yeah, she's fantastic. And I also like I love that there are a lot of really great magic artists that are very distinct. Like you get your Ron
Mhm.
Spencer, you get your um, Rebecca Gay, and you have like
Rebecca Gay. Yeah.
all of the ones where you're like that card looks so different than all the other ones. Um, and I love that she, I call her Magali, but that's what did you say? That's like actually correct. um,
I would say Magali. Yeah.
Magali. That makes a lot more sense and sounds a lot more like elegant. I'm also like American, so I'm gonna butcher the shit out of any name that like has any finesse to it. Um, but I love that a lot of the times her art fits in with it, just like fits it like blends really well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like
The blending is and yeah.
you were just mentioning that like she can stand out really well, but I also think she blends in very very well also. Like I know her art by like Chandra Torture Defiance is perfect because she does a really good job of like a low angle on a figure standing straight looking at you. You can usually tell that she did it, but all her other
Mhm.
pieces can hide in it and they're all magnificent.
Right.
While there's other artists where it's like, this is obviously your style and it doesn't matter where we are or what plane this is or what's going on, but you're going to do your style and you will look different than everyone else, which is also nice and stands out. And like literally the piece I just talked about is similar to that. But
Mhm.
there's a lot of strength in being able to like fit in everywhere, but also people know like, oh, well, they're my favorite because
It's true. Like her art never looks out of place.
exactly. Yes,
Um,
that's a really good way of putting it. So, uh, amazing. I was actually thinking about this. If like we should pick one of our favorite story spotlight cards because like you had picked this, and even before the episode, I was like, maybe we should also do our favorite story spotlight. But I'm glad that you actually picked a story spotlight because sometimes they're really fun. And doing
yeah.
our last Drunken Vorthos without the story spotlights has made me kind of sad. Missing like, oh man, I
I'm
wish.
actually like just now connecting that this is a story spotlight and what this is depicting.
Hmm. Yeah, which is also, but like when this card, like when this art came out, people were speculating that this was like, um, all these Path to Exile and all these like crazy good cards and stuff. So
Oh man, that'd be amazing.
they were like really, really excited. They're like, "Oh, it's gotta be." It's like, no, they're not gonna put Path to Exile into a new set. But
Yeah, come on.
come on, come on.
Ends up being banished into eternity. How
Mhm.
disappointed are you if you're expecting Path to Exile and
Yeah,
you get vanished into eternity?
yeah. It does that. It's the same, but plus
Yeah,
5 mana.
exile's a creature.
Yeah. um, but anyway,
And it doesn't even give them a land. Man, it's better.
it's so much better. Um, so those are our favorite cards from the set. Um, oh, my kind of closing thoughts on All Will Be One is that we've it's kind of funny that like the podcast started right around when this story arc started. So
Yeah.
it's really weird to be coming to the end of that story arc because like we started in
Yeah.
Zendikar Rising, but really Kaldheim was the first set that was released.
Like Kaldheim was our first Drunken Vorthos, which is
Hmm.
literally the
The,
that's when
the
this story arc started, and it's when
yeah.
we started talking about story.
So it's I've been doing a lot of like looking back on that and wow, this entire journey that not only the story has gone through and Magic has gone through, but we have gone through, which is just nuts. And I could not have hoped for a better co-host. It's been so wonderful.
Oh,
This is it's meant a lot to me, and as I'm getting more sappy, this wasn't what I was intending to do as I started this conversation, but it does it has made me feel really a part of something, obviously. Like, and I hope everyone listening, you also feel like you're a part of something. I mean, you mean a lot to us, or at least myself. But anyway, it's strange to see this kind of coming to a sunset and then something else happening. And not that the podcast is going away. Not that's not what we're
I was
not
gonna
not
say,
what
do
I'm
you know
getting
that
at.
like the joke in limited resources, the like Luis is just gonna like
leave.
retire or quit on a sign off or something. I felt like that's what was happening. You're like, anyways, I must
And with that,
must
I
take
the
this time to
podcast is
inform
over.
everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that would be crazy.
Before we even do the final drunken forecast.
No, 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 that's not happening. But sorry, just thinking about where that has gone has affected my life, which is what magic does. And it's been in my life for a long
Yeah.
time, and everyone and yours and all of our listeners. I know it's been a part of yours. So it's as we're coming, I want to enjoy this last chunk as much as I can before we get on a new
Mhm.
adventure, especially because I've enjoyed this chunk a lot more, I think, than um, the
And the Bolas arc.
Bolas arc. I think,
Mhm.
um,
Me too.
especially
I mean,
this.
Phyrexians are a much more compelling villain to me
Mhm.
than Nicol Bolas was. He was
Yeah,
a bit more like mustache twirling, like I'm just
yeah,
going to be evil because I'm evil.
exactly,
Phyrexians feel like a lot scarier and like they actually have like are they that wrong though? They're just trying to improve
exactly.
everybody, convert them into
Yeah,
cyborgs and whatever. Like,
it's like Joker shit, where it's like
yeah,
we're not too different, you and I, kind of stuff.
yeah.
So, but yeah. Anyway, Jeff, do you have any final thoughts for the set before we go to last call and talk about these beers?
Um, yeah. I think this thing that I would just say about this set is I don't know if you're going to look back on this set and truly remember it as like one of the goats, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this set did exactly what it's supposed to do. It provided Phyrexian like that was it was dripping with flavor. It provided a lot of really cool cards that may or may not end up seeing play, but like there's a lot of random cards we could have talked about in here that are just awesome cards, and who knows what's going to happen with them, right? Um, it also like brought back the sword. Like this was just a great set. It had a super fun limited format. I think this is going to be one of the ones that people underappreciate
Mm-hmm.
moving forward. Um, it was just a really well designed set. It was super fun and it wasn't busted. People tend to remember like the busted sets or the sets with the best limited format of all time, which is generally just means it's balanced, and don't necessarily agree a format has to be balanced to be good. But yeah, this
Mm-hmm.
set was great, I thought, and it delivered what a Magic set is kind of supposed to deliver.
Yeah. Yeah. In great ways. So,
Right. It was just fun, right? And that's the metric for me. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's fun. It didn't produce a standard with more busted decks that nobody cares about. It produced a more fun standard. It produced a
mm-hmm.
fun limited environment. Like to me, that's the metric that matters. Was the limited format balanced? No, not really. Blue sucked.
Mm-hmm.
Like white, like the Naya colors were much better than Demir. But it's still fun. So what does it matter? What
Yeah.
does it matter? Just don't
Mm-hmm.
draft blue. It's like
Mm-hmm.
just if you have fun, then that's what is actually
It's
important.
true. It's very true. Ah, it also introduced the Fastlands, the rest of them, to Pioneer. So, thank you for that.
Yeah, and that's notable. So it might be
Mm-hmm.
remembered for that. That's
Probably.
people are going to look back and be like, "Remember how Blackleaf's Cliffs is now in Pioneer? That's
Yeah.
dope."
Thanks a lot. Oh man. I think this is the first happy hour in a long time where I actually feel like happy. I know. I know we do these
Yeah,
every set basically. But a lot of them have felt like that was nice. It also felt like normal. And this one feels like
yeah.
I'm gonna be sad to
It
leave
feels good, right? It feels
Phyrexia
better.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
And I
I
don't know if that's like the prevailing opinion. So that's why,
yeah,
I'm trying to, I just had an 8% beer, so I wasn't
it's
explaining it the
true.
best. But,
Yeah.
people are going to say, people might forget this set, but I think this was a great set.
hmm I like this a lot. Like this is I don't buy a lot of paper products, but if I bought a box, I could buy this box and draft it in years to come.
Mhm.
That sounds like you
Yeah,
don't
that'd be
agree.
actually that would be super fun. Let's set a 10-year timer right now. Uh,
That's true. That'd be fun.
Buy a
Um,
box. I'll put it in my basement, and
boom.
I'll put it with all my big boxo packs that
Yeah.
are unopened. And
Yeah. And don't spill any beer on it. Perfect. Um,
oh, I can't promise that.
I know you can't. All right, Jeff, let's go to last call because we've been talking about the set for so long, which is great. But
Yeah.
also, we need to decide which beer is the best for the evening. And we have a
Hmm.
rating system we do that by, which is our scale from bronze to mythic. We made up ourselves. No one has ever thought about doing this from bronze to mythic before.
Yeah.
It's not in any sort of game or anything like that. So these are our ratings.
Yeah.
Um,
I've long felt that Arena should copy us, actually.
yeah, they have. That's really what's happened.
Yeah.
Um, no, of course, jokes aside, this is about the tiers in Arena, and it doesn't matter which tier you are in currently because every tier, everyone's in a different tier at a different time, and I'm in bronze in most of them, so it doesn't fucking matter. With that being said, bronze beers are trash. They're horrible. You can't even finish them. You have to pour them out because like they are inedible. Home brews can be in this category most of the time. When I say most of the time, I
I
mean
don't
like
know, most of the
I've
time.
recently drank a lot of my old home brews and was like, oh right, okay,
Oh, I see.
these are
Yeah.
pretty bad.
So by your own ratio.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. Silver beers are one step up. These are beers that just they're not necessarily bad, they're just not interesting, kind of boring. This is where like your standard macro brew falls.
Yeah. Gold beers are fine, but you won't really drink them again. Just kind of unexciting and just like there.
Yeah, platinum one step up. These beers are good, and you would drink these again.
Hmm. Diamond beers are exceptional. You like them a lot, and you drink them, you buy them, and you bring them to your friends.
And Mythic, man, these are the best of the best. These are the Atraxas of the beer world.
Alrighty, Jeff. Do you have the beer you would like to pick for this evening? Because I have mine locked and loaded. I've been ready for a while, I think.
Okay, I think so.
Okay. All right. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. This
I
beer.
chose Frosty.
Oh,
Frosty
dazed
the Friendship
and
Dragon.
dazed in a haze. That's really interesting.
Mhm.
I was so not thinking you would pick Frosty. I also forgot the name of the beer I
Exactly.
picked because like I didn't
I
I
know
didn't
you're
remember what it was.
like
Well, I was gonna call it
butterfly window. No,
yeah,
wait,
but
dazed in
that's
a
that's
haze.
that's what I was thinking. But the fucking Frosty Dragon is like clouding my vision. Um, all right, let's talk about Frosty because it's been right here.
Okay.
I first want to know because we saw a reaction of you. Your first sip was
Yeah.
seemingly not good, um, and I want to know what's going on with that and
Yeah.
your journey.
So this is me trying to be mature. I like the taste of Dazed in a Haze more than I like the Frosty.
Mhm.
But I'm trying to assess based on like the information I was given. And I think Frosty actually does a pretty reasonable job of delivering on a whipped frosting double IPA.
Hmm.
Like, if you tell me this is a whipped frosting double IPA, again, we always talk about this, but it's in my head when I take that first sip. It tasted like frosting to me. And then it was like, woof, yeah, that's a double IPA. And I didn't hate it. It is still like, I don't like frosting. So it's like, it's not the flavors I would go for. Um, but I thought they did a good job of like delivering what they promised. And generally, that's what I try to stick to with these types of beers. It's not necessarily do I like that flavor because sometimes I know going in I don't like that flavor.
Mhm.
It's like, did you promise something and deliver on it, or did you promise something and give me something totally different? And I felt like they delivered what they were selling.
Interesting. I did not feel the same way, but I'm really glad
Hmm.
that you did because I was
Yeah.
hoping for more. I think on the side of the can it says something about lactose. I was thinking more creaminess, and there's some sort of almost a harsh citrusy something to it. I don't know what it is, but it also threw me off. I was trying to hide it a little bit at the beginning. But I think throughout it, I agree with you that I like obviously Dazed and Haze more. Um,
Hmm.
but it wasn't because of the frosting flavor I didn't like. It was because this one just was. It was a lot. It was a lot of. I don't know. I don't know what is like. I literally feel like I don't have any words to express how I don't understand what was going on with this beer. Um,
Like there's definitely citrus in there, right? Like
yeah,
it's lemony.
it's definitely
I don't
lemony.
know if it's lemon, but it's lemony or whatever.
Yeah,
Um, and it's there's vanilla for sure, right? Like that's what got me when I first drank it. It's like this tastes
interesting.
like vanilla ice cream or something, or like vanilla.
I
I
feel
got
like
I
I.
got vanilla frosting. I don't
That's
know. I thought it
great.
was vanilla cake.
That's
Tasted like
awesome.
vanilla cake.
I didn't really get that at all, but that's I'm really happy that you did because I also know that you won't like I've drank enough beers with you to know that you won't look at a can and be like, I'm gonna taste this, and you drink it and you're like, I tasted that. You will never do that. You will always like actually taste it. So like I just didn't. I don't know. I don't know what happened. But this one I just
It
didn't.
tasted like a vanilla cake that had like lemon zest on top. You know what I mean? With like the frosting of like lemon zest. That's
I
what I'm
know
picturing in my head.
I know what that tastes like. I don't think this beer tasted like that, but I know what you're talking about as far as cakes go.
Did we drink the same beer?
I This one tasted like hoppy and harsh
Mm.
and like
I feel
abrasive.
like what's going on is like um maybe I'm just I mean we've both drank a lot of beer.
Hmm.
So but I guess like I like the hoppy and the thing and my palate is more focused on like, oh, what's this other stuff that's going on? And then
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I wanted
Oh, so I see that
vanilla or I
you
wanted like
you're telling me that you're more sophisticated in your palate than I am. Is that what you're saying right
Zach, I was trying not to say it, but yeah.
now? um, sure,
No, I
maybe
was
like
almost I was actually trying to pitch it the other like less sophisticated. Like I just like the alcohol, the hops. And then I'm like,
this
what the fuck is with this other thing that's
other
going
thing.
on?
Where like I can't get past the alcohol is intense and the hops are just like in my face and I just don't taste anything else. I wonder if I tasted a bunch like this multiple times if I could get it. No, if I tasted this multiple times, I'd be like asleep.
Be
Um,
hammered.
yeah, no. So
Here, Zach, have another one.
so anyway,
I definitely tasted this time. Actually, that might work though. Maybe you have like on the fourth one,
I throw
you
up
don't even notice there's alcohol in it.
probably, and I don't even know if it was the alcohol that was throwing me off. But anyway, this has been a long beer review. I'm gonna give this. I didn't like this. I'm gonna like it's like gold, like low gold. Like I
Yeah,
I was not super excited to keep drinking this beer.
this is one of those beers that doesn't fit well in our rating system for
It
me because I
doesn't.
probably won't drink this again if I'm being
Mhm.
totally honest. So I can't really give it platinum by our standards. And I could recommend it to people. I don't know who I'm recommending it to though, because it's very specific. And generally, the people who would like this beer are already into beer, and I don't need to
Mhm.
make recommendations necessarily. And I just don't feel good giving this diamond. I'm just gonna give it platinum,
Give
even
it
though it doesn't
platinum.
totally fit with the sphere is good, and I would drink it again because I won't drink this again. But
Yeah, but like I won't recommend this to anyone. Like I almost tell them
mm,
not to. And like
yeah,
and if you would be like, oh, it actually delivers and you feel confident in that, that's great. And also maybe our tongues are different. Who knows? Anyway, we talked a good amount about that.
all right, let's talk about the other beer.
Days in the Haze. Um, this was delightful. It feels like springtime butterfly window. I like it. I think it fits really well with like the art on the can, even though it really has nothing to do with the beer in the can. Um, just a tasty New England IPA. I'm assuming that you're going to say that it doesn't taste like a New England IPA from what you were saying with the other beer. So to me, I thought this was great. It felt platinum and just like nice. I would definitely find more of this and drink this. And all of this whole thing is cool. I like it.
Yeah, I think maybe I just really wanted to like this, and my
Hmm.
expectations were like it would be really cool if this was an amazing like best New England IPA I've tried, and also like this is their company and they're like you know supporting local artists and doing this whole thing. I wanted to like the company. Um, I think this is fine. I think it's totally fine. It
Hmm.
tastes like a New England IPA. Um, it's just like it's a really tough market. There's so many New England IPAs, and this didn't really do anything to wow me,
For sure.
other than like the marketing part. The marketing
Hmm.
part is great, so that's how they're setting themselves up. But I don't think the beer necessarily stands out. I would give this platinum as well, though. I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Um, I
It's
think I
solid.
really have to listen to the song and see if it matches. I need to buy another one, put this album on, and just drink the beer.
Yeah. Or
Does
buy a
it
bunch.
vibe?
Because like an
Yeah, buy a six
album,
pack of these and
yeah.
just
How long is the album? Because like I guess technically you're supposed to drink like one beer an hour, but like
I
which
mean,
we
for
kind
all
of
I know, this could be a single, right? I've just been assuming it's an album, but
that's true. It could be just one song. We don't know.
yeah.
Maybe they have a
Then we got to
whole
drink this in like 3.5 minutes.
yeah. No, imagine you have one they have one beer for each song on the album and you have to drink it. It's
So
like the
it's one of those like Century Club
yeah, Century Club. That's
challenge.
yeah. But it's like that actually sounds pretty sick though. I mean, not the I think what you should do instead if you want to play that game, if this is a real thing at all and like makes any sense, because I'm obviously making this up, but instead of trying to drink the beer in the several minutes you have and then drink another one, instead put the song on repeat until both of you or everyone has finished that beer, and then you can move on to the next
Mhm.
beer. So it's almost like a draft.
Right. So like people will start to get frustrated that it's the same song playing too. Be like, all right,
Hmm.
fuck this.
Yeah. And they're like, okay, I'm going to finish this one. It's like, all right, next one. And then you get to drink the next beer. Um,
So if you
but
hate the song, you're just like shotgunning.
yeah, you're like, let's get this over with. But then you have to still listen to the song while you're waiting for somebody else to finish because maybe they like it and they're enjoying their beer. And you're like,
Mm.
I didn't like this beer very much. I guess that doesn't ultimately sound like a really fun game, but
It sounds like a lot of peer pressure, just
yeah,
like everyone
just
yelling at each other.
literally a peer pressure game, which sounds totally fine. All right, so like some platinums, a little bit of gold. I think the reason I liked Frosty a lot less is because I had really high expectations and they like
That's the
plummeted.
thing, right? You always come in with expectation. I had super low expectations for Frosty, so
Hmm.
that definitely factors in.
So that's why I think we balance out a bit. Jeff, let's finish this thing up because I don't even know how long this is going, but it's been great. It's been lots of fun as always. Uh,
Yeah.
Always good. All right, let's go to last call. You can always find us at the Arena Regulars on Twitter and Instagram.
We just did last call. This is closing time, but you
Oh,
can also
damn it.
find us on the arena under the username Arena Regulars Podcast.
I knew I was going to screw that up. I I'm blaming the dragon. I'm blaming Frosty Dragon for that.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that's fair.
yeah, we can't we can't drink the 8% like we used to, man. Like,
That's right.
go listen to our early episodes to figure out what the fuck we used to drink and like how bad it was.
Yeah.
Um, anyway,
Back in our call time days.
yeah, go to the call time episodes. Anyway, if you want to talk to me personally, you can find me at Zulberg. That is ZULBRG on Twitter and Instagram. But Jeff, where can they find you?
Best place is on the Discord channel. I go by a regular Jeff, and the link for that again should be in the show notes.
Also, please leave us a review. Leave it on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you can leave a review and follow us. It really helps the podcast a lot. Go to YouTube, leave a comment, subscribe. All those things go a very long way, and you have no idea how helpful they are. This has been the Arena Regulars.
Reminding you that next year's alchemy update will be buffing blue in Phyrexia All Will Be One draft.
Good night. All right, that's fine.